Thank you. Thank you for joining. Happy Monday. Thank you for the like. Peter, how are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining. And thanks also for the like. Thank you, my good friend. Thank you. Is it because of the risky behaviors? Is it because of the increased risk of injuries? Thank you guys for joining. Thank you. Happy Monday. How is everyone, guys? Let me know how you are doing this great Monday. So our topic today, guys, is very simple. Is alcohol emerging to be a major threat to our new generation? You are gone. Okay. Thank you for voting, guys. Why do you believe alcohol is becoming a greater threat to our young people? Is it because of risky behavior? Is it because of increased risks of injuries? Is it because of the health consequences? Or is it because of the other reasons, guys? Let me know. I can see we already have a suggestion that, risky consequences are rapidly increasing, uh, among the young people due to increased use of alcohol. You know, eh? And I think there'll be a very good thing to try and analyze the modern alcohol and maybe the traditional alcohol. Yeah, there is none. Yeah, there is there is need to understand the difference between traditional alcohol and the modern alcohol. And this is, yes. You too. So guys, as we are saying, there is need for us to appreciate, because if you compare the death, the death cases, that were, the cases were very rare, they were very rare, and on very low scale. Would we have, would societies would have realized alcohol to be a threat, to human life? But today, the increased use of alcohol, among the young people has really become a very, very critical thing, really threatening the livelihood and the sustainability of the young people. So the first aspect that we should understand is all about, the difference between the traditional alcohol and the modern alcohol. And as we have said, that traditionally, alcohol was really made for human consumption, and this is where, natural materials, mostly plants, yeah, were really used for human consumption, and they were created through the process of fermentation and distillation. However, modern, the modern alcohol is really, really different. It's, I'm a chemist by profession. Uh, the OH, the OH breakdown has been industrial good, compared to the traditional one, in such a way that in some levels, it's not always safe for drinking, because in most cases it is always denatured, and you always find that some of these chemicals, some of the chemicals that are really used for making what we may say the modern alcohol, you'd always find that some of these chemicals, they also have some other major uses. You know, they can most of them, they are used maybe in the manufacture of the pharmaceuticals. These are the drugs that we consume. You know, the drugs that we consume. Others are really made for the use as disinfectants, and others are really used as biofuels. So that's the kind of industrial alcohol that we can really, that we can really uh, access today. And traditionally, we would always find that there was what we call the time-honored beverage. You know, the alcohol during those days, during the older days, you'd always find that most of those beverages were given time for them to ferment. You know, like the whiskey, like the lamb, like the wine. We even have some wine that are 100 years plus. You know, the traditional one, But nowadays, that thing is no longer happening. You know, wine that is coming from the industrial, from the industry as industrial alcohol, it's not really fermented. You know, it is in fact what has been done. Most of the wine is really added some additive for it, to be fine-tuned to be wine. You know, and you'd always find that the products that were really used for traditional alcohol, most of them were yeast. You know, as we said, we really used a lot of fruits. We really used a lot of yeast for the fermentation. And you'd always find that if we really wanted to increase maybe the alcohol content, thank you for the like. Mr. Lama, yo, hi Hawks, how are you? How are you doing today? How are you doing today? How are you doing today? I'm fine on my side. So you'd always find that traditionally the alcohol that people really used to access, it was really made from plants. Good. How are you? I'm very fine. I'm very fine. This good evening. How was your Monday? How was your Monday, Mr. Lama? How was your Monday? Hmm? How was your Monday? Yeah, even mine was very good. Even mine was very good. Thank you guys for voting. Thank you guys for voting. I can see that 2 votes, and health lists is one of the key reasons, is among the major reasons that has been highlighted by what I can see from the votes, that that is what is really contributing, uh, you know, add, toward the modern alcohol becoming a threat to our young people. As I was saying, guys, you'd always find that those old men that really used to make that old alcohol, or what you may call the traditional alcohol, they really focused on using, sugar, plants, and they then an yeast for it maybe to ferment. Like in my tradition, they really used to cook what we call the muratina, and I remember that long plant, yeah, it would be harvested, then from there it would be chopped into very small beans, then it will be added in a drum of water, for it to start fermenting, and then it will be added some yeast, and then from there it will be given some time, and then finally what would really happen, we really used to have what we may call, they are the professional, they were those professional drinkers, yeah. They would always come and taste, and then they would really tell you if the alcohol is really ripe for it to be enjoyed. But nowadays, everything is just coming from the industries. The chemicals are being derived from the plant, and then all the chemicals are then added together, and then now we have the product, and then it's being channeled to different outlets for it to be sold. Therefore, for those that really understand on how that traditional alcohol was being made, you'd agree with me, there were no additives. That was the good thing. It was all about plants. You mix them in a drum of water. Then you had, the big mwiko, and you'd always see them, each and every day just go there, and they cooked their din, and they would enjoy that din after meal each and every day. But nowadays, we are really, young people is really consuming what we may call the industrial grade chemicals. That's the thing. They are really, and in the like the ethanol, and then in the process, you'd always find that it's having a lot of health implication. It's having a lot of health implication. So the modern technology has really refined on how alcohol is being made, and in the process of converting, those raw materials into the final product, a lot of additives are added, along the production line, and then at the end of the day, it's all about chemicals. It's all about mixing chemicals, and then at the end of the day, you term that to be a beverage. So you'd always find that even though traditional alcohol was associated with issues like the liver disease, cancer, as well as mental health, uh, the modern the modern alcohol has a lot of health implication compared to the traditional one. And therefore, now we can go back to our main question, why we are really having what we may call, why alcohol is really acting as a threat to our young generation. One, you'd all agree with me that alcohol has really harmed young and their bodies. And in the process, you'd always find that a decision and maybe poor decision making processes, injuries, all these things. And once that alcohol has really penetrated into what we call the bloodstream, it really becomes acting as a key threat to the young people. And you'd always agree with me that those young people that are really taking alcohol at a very large scale, they are always at disposal of very many risks. And one of the key risks is all about accidents. We have had a lot of accidents, linked with the young people, because maybe they were drunk and they were driving. The suicide cases have always increased. The homicide, young people killing themselves because maybe they are too much into alcoholism in such a way that they are already, addict of alcohol, and the moment maybe they cannot be able to access that alcohol, then now the only thing that some of them, they are even linked to contemplating what we may call the suicidal cases. And then the long-term effects, as we have said, liver has really become a major, liver cirrhosis have really become a major alcohol related disease. And I have several cases of so many people dying because of the liver cirrhosis thing. And then the diseases like the heart diseases as well as cancer, they are always linked with what we may call the modern alcohol, considering that what we are really consuming, they are chemicals, and the moment now we keep on consuming these chemicals, the highest probability for us is just to get some of these potential opportunistic diseases. As well as the issue of diabetes, I have seen so many cases of so many young people very young people, and because of alcohol-related issues, you'd always find that most of them are living diabetic, which is such a very, very worrying trend. The other issue that we have all, I believe that we have all seen, is the issue of the high pregnancy rates. The impaired judgment. You are not able to make decisions because your mental, because your mind is not so well fine-tuned because of alcohol. So you have some kind of a gray mind. You are not able to make decisions effectively. Then the other issue is all about the unplanned pregnancy, and this is a very worrying trend, especially for our young girls who are mainly involved in alcohol-related issues. And one thing that I have really seen, because I have seen a lot of young girls, tending to have alcohol as a way of enjoying their weekend, the case of pregnancy rates have really increased. I have also seen the issue of young girls aborting a lot, because most of them maybe they really got what we may call unplanned pregnancies, maybe when they were drunk, and the only thing they can do is just to terminate the pregnancy. And there is also the risk of spreading STIs, and HIV, guys, is real and it's there, and for some people, they would always tell you that maybe they got infected with HIV when they were drunk, because you have what we have called the impaired judgment. You are not so critical in making your decision, and therefore you are prone maybe to sleeping with just anyone, and in the process, there you go, you'd always find that you made the wrong decision, and maybe you had what we may call the sexual intercourse with the wrong person, and then at the end of the day you have the STI or you have the HIV. So those are some of the key things that are really killing our young people, especially those that are fully engaged in alcohol. And it's such a worrying trend. And one of the key aspects that is really impacting our young people is all about the brain development. And you'd always find that the young people that have continued uh, taking alcohol at a very high rate, most of them, they have the challenge of what we call the brain development. For the young guys, we have those guys that they are always saying they are going for a ruta. A ruta is all about having a weekend full of alcohol, full of friends and alcohol. The brain development is really an issue. You listen with them, and in the process of listening with them, because maybe some of them are too much into alcohol, you don't even see the reason. You don't even see a very effective way of how they are reasoning, because their brain have really been, what can I say? Their brain have been interfered with by alcohol. Yes. Like research has shown that drinking too much of alcohol can interfere with what we call the frontal lobe development. This one is from research, guys, and this one really, it's what controls the impulse and the decision making and self-control. And that's the reason why I have said you'd always find those young people that are really high each and every time, they are prone to making poor decisions, and self-control is really an issue. If they are girls, you'd always find that they keep on sleeping with almost everyone, you know, And it's not about their will, it's because their self-control is always at risk. And because they are and it is on very very high scale, especially when you see young girls, uh, especially when young people or even when young girls are there taking alcohol at what we may call the alcohol spree. The other issue is all about the brain. Some parts of the brain are also damaged by alcohol consumption. This is where you'd always find that alcohol, really high intake of alcohol, really interferes with your learning capability as well as your memory, because your memory is also very, 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 very instrumental, as well as it can alter your motor skill, the skill, your ability, your ability to do things, yeah, the power that you have, the motor skill. Because when you talk about the motor skill, is all about having that energy to do things. But most of them, you'd always find that, especially those that are always addict, the addict, you'd always find that those people, they are always having a lot of challenges when you come to the issue of how they take things. And for them to be stable, they have to consume something, for them to be stable, they have to be, for them to be stable, they have to consume something, and that is the only stable way they can be able to survive. In terms of injury and death, of course, alcohol is really killing our young people, as we have said. The homicide cases are increasing, accidents are increasing each and every day, and the suicide cases are on high gear. The suicide cases are on high gear, and it's all about the it's all about the high level consumption of alcohol by the young people. I have seen and I have even read from the news that most of the homicide, most of the homicide cases linked with alcohol. This is where you'd always find that maybe you are having a difference, some small differences maybe with your friend, and because your motor, because your motor or your decision making. Because the reasoning is not really there, you'd always find that even if they are having some differences, for those guys that are very, very emotional, some of them, they even say, I'm going to kill myself, and they do it. And those are the homicide cases that we are really talking about. The suicide cases, I have heard about those guys, maybe that they have families, because of alcohol and because of the impairment that comes with, drinking too much alcohol. Some of them have even gone homes in their houses, and they have even killed their sons and daughters. And when they ask why they did that, I was doing, and in the process, things, wrong things had already been done, like killing maybe the wife and the kids. So alcohol impairment is very, very, very high, and also accidents. So many young people, they are driving while drunk. And I remember there was a case last year. I think it was at the start of this year. A guy was drunk along one of our bypasses, the southern bypass, and this guy had a Subaru. And because of that impairment, I think the guy felt that the car was not moving as he would have loved, and therefore the guy was really, really, he was really, really on the pedal, and unfortunately the vehicle flew, it flew off the road, and it landed on someone's land. And when now the police came and investigated the magnitude of that accident, it was the body had also crashed in the process. And therefore, impairment is very, very high, especially when young people are especially when young people are are driving while drunk, you know. So I remember that Subaru case. It was a fatal accident, you know. According to the sources of those that said that they saw off the highway to someone's land, and that's where now it crashed. So it was all about the impairment, because they were saying there was a guy who was confessing that he saw that Subaru. He was also driving, but that one was, he was not drunk, but he said that that Subaru was really veering, or it was really speeding over 120. And you know how Subaru, you know how those vehicles are fine-tuned, for racing. And therefore, that kind of impairment, I think, really told that young man that he was not overspeeding. The other aspect is all about the health effect, and one of the key health effects that we can link with alcohol is all about the issue of cancer. Cancer related cases, they are still increasing each and every day. The heart diseases, as we say, the lifestyle diseases, such as BP, this is blood pressure, BP cases on young people are very common nowadays. Initially people really thought that some of these lifestyle diseases, like maybe the blood sugar, or what we call the diabetes, and maybe the BP, the blood pressure, initially it was really linked with the old people, or with the old generation. Maybe those people that were perceived maybe to having a lot of stress, maybe after retiring, maybe from their employment. But the truth of the matter is, the use of alcohol, heavy use of alcohol is also increasing the realization of those lifestyle diseases, because an alcoholic does not even have that time, to have what we may call balanced diet, Nowadays I have seen they are really drinking what we may call wines, not wines, but the spirit, and the spirit, they associate in such a way that when maybe they take a thought, their mental judgment, just fades away. One cannot even recognize if they had lunch or not. Once they have that one thought, they are good for the day. And therefore, you'd always find that this young man or this young lady, maybe who have had that form of, of a drink, maybe he or she has not taken lunch. Maybe most probably, if they are lucky enough, maybe in the context of the day, maybe to having another thought, or some few shots, then you'd always find that even some of them, they do not even have what we may call the supper. And in the process of maybe lacking supper and something of such, the entire concept about the nutritional, having what we may call the balanced diet, it fades away, and that now becomes the norm. Each and every day, they are just in the base, maybe having some thoughts, and these thoughts are very cheap, in such a way that if you have maybe 20 bob, I think that would be about $1, less than $1, yeah, less than $1. They are okay. They are okay for the day. They can have some several shots before the day ends. And therefore, lifestyle diseases are very opportunistic. For those, we have another category, maybe the higher class, by the young people, who are also, alcohol reverers. They take a lot of alcohol, and maybe they do not take the street spirit and the stuff, those alcohol beverages. But on the other hand, they still have the risk, because you'd always find that most of them, they really rely on what we may call the meat. And the meat has a lot of uric acid, it has a lot of uric acid, which is not, and too much of uric acid also in the body also have its own implication, and sometimes it can even kill when it is a certain beyond a certain level. So therefore, the lifestyle diseases are also very, very prone to the young people, especially when they really keep on using it without even having that much consideration about their diet. Then we have also realized what we may call fatal liver diseases. I think these ones are the most common among our young people. In our language, we always say that the river was there, but the river is shrinking each and every day. The more we take more thought, the more our liver is reducing, each and every day. Until now, the river, and the river is one of the key organs that has the ability of growing once again, and the more the river is being depleted, the more the lifespan is also being depleted. And therefore, for those that are really taking what we may call the street alcohol beverages, especially the wines and spirits, because that's where we are, having a lot of wines and spirits, the liver is at very, very high risk, and each and every day as the liver keep on shrinking, also your lifestyle is also shrinking. That's the essence in it, so the more you take the street alcohol beverages, the more now your lifespan is also decreasing. That's where now we have the threat. So liver fatal cases, they are very, very common in our African context. I have seen so many young people, friends, so many friends have gone, and all it's all because of the river issue, because the moment now you start taking wines and spirits, liver issues now start set in. Each and every time you'd always be complaining about the acid, and when you go to the doctor, you'd always tell you, if you keep taking wines and spirit, your acidity level is really, really increasing, so you need to reduce. And in the process, if you are not careful about reducing the entire thing, then now you keep on risking your liver, and the moment you do that, then we are about to sing bye bye for you. As we said, alcohol is one of the key contributing factor. Alcohol, our modern alcohol is one of the key contributing factors to having what we may call the unprotected sex, sexual activities. I have seen so many clubs. We have a lot of high-end clubs nowadays, and the moment people join those clubs, the moment the revelers are in those clubs, and maybe they have their things, you know getting a suitable sweeter, it's a very, very high thing, and here in the city, I think we are having all forms of clubs. The entertainment clubs, we have the strippers club. The strippers club, this is where I heard these are I haven't visited them, but this is where I heard that these are form of clubs where maybe women dance with nudity, you know, and it's all about entertaining men. And in the process, for you to get a sweeter or to get a partner, maybe from such type of a club, the possibilities are very high. So today you are going to have this partner, tomorrow you are going to have another one, and in the process, it all is your decisions. Because you are making some decisions that are very, very poor. Mostly you are going to having what we may call the sexual intercourse or the sexual activity, and in the process of having the sexual activity, So many young people are being linked with STI issues. Most of them are having the STI cases, HIV cases. Wow, I have seen some documentary talking about how some young girls got infected with HIV, and they always say that, what, I met a friend in a certain club, and then from there we had some few thoughts. We have some few thoughts, and then the next thing was all about us having a room, and in the process of having a room, we did our thing, only for me to come and realize that later I was HIV positive. These cases are there, and young people each and every day are coming out clearly just to say, what, I think I messed up somewhere, and it was all about alcohol. Others, you just find very young girls, and they would always tell you, what, I went for some music festival somewhere, in a club, and then in the process I met a certain guy. He paid me, and then in the process I got pregnant. I'm lucky that I didn't maybe contracted STI, or maybe had maybe HIV, but at the end of the day, what, I got pregnant, and I don't know where now to start. So some of them, they really now focus on going on the second route. This is where they go and do what we may call the botched pregnancies. This is where they really want to terminate what we may call the fetus, and in the process, some of them, they really survive. Others, on the other hand, if they are not lucky enough, they if they are not lucky enough, they also die in the process. And this is really happening in our, in our neighborhoods, especially the low income neighborhoods, or what we term in Kenya as the ghettos. These are real stories with real people, and they always tell you, what, alcohol, me and alcohol, I think we will no longer be friends, because it really messed up with my life. So alcohol, when you talk about having maybe an unprotected sex, I think it is a key contributor to some of the key issues that are really faced by our young people. The other thing that I have seen with our young people, this is where those guys that are really into alcohol, and those guys that have already gotten addicted into alcoholism, you always find that most of them, uh, even working is a problem, yeah, those guys do not even love to work. You will always find that they are so hasty in doing a certain activity. Maybe you are doing maybe you are doing a certain project with them, but they are so impatient in such a way that they just want that thing to end, that activity to end, so that maybe you can give them that 100 bob or 50 bob, and the route that they are going to take is just into wine and spirit. And when I check, or when I look at their work ethics, it's really a worrying trend. Young people, if we continue, if we continue consuming the wines and spirits that we are having, then we are going to have a lot of issues when it comes to managing our lifestyle and managing our work ethics, because we don't really want to work. All we are thinking is how we are going to get that money, and then at the end of the day, we just learn into doing our alcohol thing, which is such a threat. So that one, in terms of work ethics, I think we are becoming a very, very poor nation, and it's all because of alcohol. Alcohol is also being linked with, or it being correlated with other risky behaviors such as fighting. You know, I since I have lived in what I would term to be a ghetto, I think I have seen ugly fights all generated by alcohol. You'd always find women fighting with men, men fighting with women. All of them are drunk. They are dragging each other on the road. They are, they are spitting all forms of words. Those heavy words, and they unfilter nothing. That's now the worrying thing. They unfilter nothing. They just talk. They can call you a name calling. Name calling. They can't say anything, and they don't hide. They do it in a very free manner. So it's being correlated with risky behavior such as fighting, as well as observation. I have tried to observe uh, how young people are linked with alcoholism, and I have always seen that if that young guy is not using alcoholism plus maybe a cigar, they are using it maybe plus bangi, or maybe the others that really love having a cut, or what we call mira and alcohol, alcoholism. But at the end of the day, that young guy is not using some extra substances. And at the end of the day, when everything now clogs inside the body, it's a threat, and that's where now we are really increasing the cancer related cases. Like I will say, one of the key cancer, one of the key being that really propels cancer is all about the cigar. There are those that can really take even 10 cigarettes per day, and they do it. They are, I think, we call them complementary. Complementary substances. You use alcohol, and the other hand, you are also using some cigar. You use bangi, on the other hand, you are using maybe the wines and spirit. That risk is always there. So, and in the process, there is nothing as tricky, and there is nothing as costly as treating, what is it called, the alcohol related issues. Alcohol treatment is very, 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 very increasing in our society, and at the end of the day, we really need to check on that. So some of the key ways that we can be able to advocate on how we can sensitize young people on the impact of alcohol. There is need for us to you know to do what we call online socialization, like what I'm doing, guys. Just being an ambassador. There is need for us to keep on championing and to keep on telling people, through our online spaces, that we really need to reduce on the high level of consumption of the alcohol that we are really getting today. Because we really need to fine tune our mind in such a way that we can do it without it. And for those that really feel that they need to do it, we can always go back to maybe designing and making our own alcohol, our own traditional alcohol, the one we said that it has no chemicals. That traditional one, I think if it's one or two for the road, you can go for the traditional one. The Mulatina is there. There are those that we say that they make the alcohol maybe from their grapes. There are those that, like in Uganda, our neighbors here, and in Burundi, yeah, I saw that they really make the alcohol from the bananas. They and I saw that process, and I saw that it was very, very fit for them to take it, because what I saw them they do, they harvest their bananas. Then once they have harvested their bananas, uh, they ensure that their bananas are ripe. Even though they are not so ripe, they ensure that those bananas are ripe, and then now they take it through a process, hot water, they mix it with the hot water until now, most of the banana content is, they make a kind of a slurry. We call it slurry. So they make it a slurry, and they filter it, and then they put it now in the container, and they do the same thing. Yeah, they just add what we call the fermenter. Yeah, yeah, for that thing to ferment, and then at the end of the day, they enjoy it at the traditional level. And you'd always find that those people, they have consumed less chemicals, and in the process, you'd always find that they are even more better, maybe than having some of these town kind of recas that are from the industries, because most of the industries, as we said, these are some of the fine chemicals. And when as a chemist, when we talk about the fine chemicals, these are very, very they are first grade chemicals that are derived from the plant, and they are distilled in such a way that we only need some compound from them, you know and in the process of having those few compounds, those are the compound that we can those are the compound that we are really using into developing our alcohol. And in the process of developing that alcohol, you know we are really consuming some of the compounds, or some of the key reagent that have several uses. Like we said, some of these reagents, they are used for manufacturing of drugs in the pharmaceutical industry. Some of these drugs, they are also used for making some lubricant, all those things, and at the end of the day, those are some of the key things that we are really injecting into our systems. Apart from that, there is also need for us to embrace, there is, apart from sensitizing on the impact of alcohol, maybe using the online platform, there is need for us to come up with various ways in which we can be able to interact. Uh, we have a lot of ways in which we can be able to interact, and they can be very, very helpful, and as a way of ensuring that maybe we escape from alcoholism. I have seen a lot of foundations, by most of our politicians, especially, having these things that we call the foundations. Most of them are really encouraging young people to go and do some sports such as football, and in the process, if they are able to be injected into maybe a certain football academy or into a certain football club, then for them it really becomes very easier then for them maybe to shun away, or maybe to deviate from the alcoholism kind of manner. Then from there, we need to create more, we need to really create what we may call accepting environment. We really need to embrace, and we really need to keep on telling people, even those that do not take alcohol, we need to accept them, we need to embrace them, and we really need to enhance and to widen the circle, because what have really made so many young people to go into alcoholism is all about the peer pressure. Peer pressure has greatly peer pressure have greatly contributed to increase in alcoholism, but we really need to create space, to encourage our young people that even if they are not into alcoholism, things can still work. That one is also our clerical call. We also need to increase on information on alcohol risks. This is where we should be able to enlighten different people about the risks that comes when we have high consumption of alcohol, and we also need to generate what we may call the alternative entertainment, and I believe this one is very, very healthy, because if you talk to most of the young people that we have today, they always tell you, I'm doing alcoholism because this is part of my entertainment. But I think there is need for us to focus on generating various entertainment options. For those that really love playing volleyball, I think we should embrace on it. For those that really love on doing charity work, I think that's a very good way of having an alternative entertainment. For those that really uh, love maybe doing what we may call the social organization issues, I think it's also very, very important for us you know to do what we may call positive deviation from alcoholism. Finally, guys, we really need also to focus on having some spending priorities. Rather than rather than having our priorities maybe focused maybe on spending on alcohol, there is need for us to have what we really call it the self-care strategies. I think in one of my lives, I did what we call the self-care strategies. We really need to embrace on doing some of these key activities, like the travel and exploration. I think that's where I am. For girls, they can do what we call the skin care. For those that really love to be smart, they can do fashion and something, rather than always being engaged into alcoholism, guys. And I think if we are able to do that, I think we are going to reduce some of these key issues that we have really highlighted that are coming or stemming from what we may call the modern alcohol beverages. Because as we have seen, they are all chemical generated, they are all chemical made. And then at the end of the day, we don't want to have a lot of injections in terms of our in terms of our our body having a lot of injections with those chemicals, because we really want to protect. So guys, I really want to say thank you. As I have seen and I have said before, I believe and I'm still a strong believer that we can be able to reduce alcoholism rates within our social settings. So guys, as I wind up, we really had a very good quiz today. Uh, why do you believe alcohol is becoming a great threat to young people? And 100% are saying the health consequences. Risky behavior 0%, increased risk of injury 0%, and others 0%. Thank you so much, guys, for always tuning in, for always showing love. More videos coming through. So guys, let's keep on supporting the platform about the impact of alcoholism within our social settings. So guys, until tomorrow, may God bless you.